Laos, embattled kingdom in Southeast Asia, is a land whose heart is divided into three parts. Government troops may be either neutralist or pro-Western and may sometimes fight each other. But here they are fighting against homegrown communists, the Pathet Lao. In this bitter civil war, the great powers of the world fight by proxy, supplying arms and ideas, struggling to win the allegiance of the people who live and who are uprooted on this dangerous frontier between the East and the West. Laos is the mountain crossroads of Southeast Asia. The Pathet Lao holds one side of the country. From its area, entire villages are driven into free Laos. Sam Thong is a refugee center, the headquarters of Pop Buell. In these mountains, Buell works for the United States Agency for International Development, giving relief to refugees, resettling them in clusters of villages around Sam Thong, and helping mountain people develop a modern way of life. Edgar Buell is one of many Americans doing similar work elsewhere. In this primitive farm technology, the mountain tribes normally clear brush, plant rice and corn until the land wears out, then move. In war, they move more often and are always starting over. How does a successful farmer from the most technologically advanced country in the world, 52 years old, money in the bank, find himself in the village of Sam Thong? Pop Buell.
It all leads back to my wife dying. We'd seemingly accomplished what most people thinks about, especially a farmer in life, getting a farm and get it paid for and slowing down in life, and that's what we'd accomplished. After she died, both of my children grew up. My son had been going to college to Purdue, and all of a sudden he decided that he was going to be a farmer like his granddad and dad was. So I decided maybe I could do something else. Thought maybe I could go somewhere in the world and just do good for people somewhere, and it didn't make much difference where. And I applied to International Voluntary Service, and I was sent to Laos.
The International Voluntary Service is a forerunner of the Peace Corps. Buell first works with these people, the Mayo tribesmen, in 1960. He comes with agricultural advice, finds the people need everything. He tries to bring it to them. Health services, schools, clothing, goes into the villages, learns the language. In 1962, he becomes an area coordinator for the Agency for International Development, USAID. Pop Buell with CBS News correspondent Bernard Kalb.
Pop, how old is Sam Thong?
Sam Thong is approximately 3 years old. It is a complete refugee village. 3 years ago, when I came in here, there was nothing, not even a building at Sam Thong. At that time, we had about 3,600 people, and as you can see today, we have got about 10 to 1,100 people. The rest have all been resettled and have become self-sufficient. At that time, USAID was furnishing all the rice for these people. Now, all the rice we're having to furnish at Sam Thong is for a new village over here of about 150 Lao people who have just come out of communist territory, plus our hospitals and for our school children. The population here is about 90% Mayo tribes people, and the rest are Laotians out of the Plain de Jar area.
The plane Buell awaits is flown by the pilots of Air America, a private contractor to the State Department.
The airplanes that flies in here is probably one of the most important things in northern Laos fighting communists. If there is nothing carried in an airplane up here, if there is no rice carried in it, no personnel or nothing, and if the communist sees this plane flying over, it probably has more effect on them than any other thing up here in this country. Plus, if it was not for your drop planes that come over to drop rice, the people couldn't be fed. Your little helios that comes in here each day carries the drugs from village to village, which in the long run turns out to save many, many lives.
Mayo children are not used to being hungry. Their parents are good farmers, Buell says. But even in normal times, disease kills many children, and adults can expect to live only 30 years. Current supplies, rice, clothing, tools, medicines, come largely through U.S. aid, go to the Laotian government, which passes them on to workers like Buell for distribution. And he has spent thousands of dollars of his own savings from his farm in Indiana on the mail. Sam Thong is a base for Buell. He also works in outlying villages surrounded by the Pathet Lao, with guerrilla warfare a daily danger. Buell jeeps in, walks in, or flies in. There are now about 100 landing strips in the mountains. The planes get shot at and hit. Buell has had a jeep shot out from under him. He has been a refugee himself more than once, and at one time the communists were reported to have a price of $25,000 on his head. The planes also carry the wounded and the sick. Villagers who do not submit to the communists must flee or fight. The Mayo are strong fighters, but Buell says two things the communists care nothing about: time and lives. In the beginning, he learned from a nurse how to give drugs, perform amputations, deliver babies. Then he promised villagers if they would build a clinic or a school, he would see that it got supplies and help. That's what the other side does, Buell says. Dr. Charles Weldon is public health chief of the USAID mission in Laos.
Up until about 3.5 years ago, the only medical tradition that they had was based on superstition, and it's only been about in the last 3.5 years that POP has started to develop these rather crude dispensaries and hospital facilities, and to train people from the mountains to give the medical care. We, unfortunately, have a very heavy load of war wounded. Probably at least half of the patients are people who've been injured by different types of war accidents. The other half of the patients are usually suffering from malnutrition, malaria, respiratory diseases, and different types of intestinal disorders.
The staff are young men and women from the villages brought to Sam Thong for training. They learn by seeing and doing. Then they go back to their isolated villages to be the resident medical workers, health service, war nurses. "4 years ago, seeing how the communists worked before me," Pop Buell says, "I decided to build a school." He has since seen many built by the villagers, from rough forest timbers, from bamboo and flattened oil drums. Thousands of Mayo and Laotian children are tasting education for the first time.
Well, I feel we're making a great advancement in education in these mountains. 3.5 years ago, we had no schools. Today, we have many, and as you can see here, the advancement taking place. We had to get teachers out of Vientiane and build better schools for the advancement of these children.
Les cours d'eau qui n'appartiennent pas au bassin du Mekong coulent vers l'est. Ce sont les Animen, then 5 Enma frontière.
Pop, as you've seen this program unfold in the past 3.5 years, what kind of effect has it had on you?
I think you all probably know that. When I went back to the United States, before I went back, there probably was a little question in my mind whether I was coming back or not. It's had enough effect on me that I'm sure if when USAID decides that they don't want me to work for them anymore, that I would come back and work for the people themselves.
In Laos, Edgar Buell's nickname has nothing to do with his age. Pop means gift from above in male. Ton is Mr. He is Mr. Gift from above.
These people comes out of the Plain de Jara area, which is well known by now. They have been 2 years trying to get out. In so doing, they've lost about 1/3 of their population, either by sickness or by dying, or by trouble with the communists. They got in here about 4 months ago, and as you can see, it's becoming an established village. Up until 2 months ago, when I come from home leave, I didn't know them. But seemingly, they had heard somewhere across the mountain there that there was somebody over here that would not only be willing to accept them and would help care for them. And as soon as I arrived, after the second night, these people had already made preparations for a bossy, which we call a party, which you can guess was a very simple party that assured me that they had already accepted me.
They knew you by your name, Ton Pop.
That is right. They knew me before they got here. And I had never met none of these people before in my life.
What's happening here, Pop?
You can see here an improvement that is taking place, and a very necessary improvement. For generations, these people with their livestock have been inbreeding. And you can see by looking at this pig what we have got to work with. You can see it that the belly nearly touches the ground. There is no clasp to the body whatsoever. We have put in this village a male hog that I got out of Saigon, that Usam Saigon gave me. And here you can see the results of the first pigs. And notice the difference, how straight they are. Anybody that knows anything about pigs will have to say that there is some pretty good pigs from one cross breeding with a mother of that type. These pigs, in turn, it is understood that the owner will not keep, but he will pass on to other villages.
Land crops mature too slowly to feed thousands of refugees quickly. Airdrops are costly. These ponds are a quick source of vital protein.
To begin with, USAID bought 20,000 fish for us from Bangkok, small fish, and they are known as a fish known as tilapia that multiplies very fast. And now we have enough ponds and enough fish that we can supply people nearly as fast as they need fish from our own ponds. And as you can see, it's a very simple way to get food into people rather than have to drop it into them. It makes them feel not only like we're not helping them, but they're helping themselves. Again, you'll find that you have very independent people here that would rather help themselves than be helped by somebody else if it's possible. My big aim still is to help people. In no way do I feel like that I could leave these people at a time like this.
Buell talks with the USAID mission at the Laos capital. Part of his job is knowing that some tribes will wear black, but never blue.
Hello, this is Pop. How do you read me? Over.
I read you fine, over.
Number one, you tell Mr. Gullion I have checked on the blue cloth that I talked to him about this morning, and it can be used in that Pusang area. Over.
Use blue cloth, not black cloth. Over.
That is right. Also, have somebody to check at the airport if the black cloth and the hose are at the airport. If they are, try to get them to Sam Thong. Over.
Ton Sar, who was a Buddhist priest for 13 years, is Pop's chief Laotian aide. When Buell received a $1,000 award from the State Department for meritorious service in 1964, he used it to bring Ton Sar home with him, to show him what the real America was like.
Go quick. Let's get across here before we get killed.
They are in Eden, Ohio, a few miles from Buell's farm in Steuben County, Indiana.
Down there was the elevator. You can see that. That's where Choke comes in, Howard's the tractor. Go down now. We're right on across here. Right over there is the bank. Oh, there's the implement store. It's the same size today that it was 50 years ago. There's a few new houses on the outside.
The farm on which Edgar Buell was born and lived a full life. He built the new house 2 years before his wife, Mallory, died. His mother, father, brothers, his own children, the friends he hunted and fished with, grew up around here. His grandchildren are growing up here now.
Go get in the jet. Here, Robin. Robin, get up there with Jet. Get in there with Jet. Yeah. That's a good girl. That's a good girl. It's okay, Jeff. Bye-bye. Say bye-bye. There we go.
And I said, I'm gonna have a fish fry for Ed.
An old friend throws a fish fry for Pop and Tonsar.
I said, well, I think so.
Have you got cucumbers over there? You want that?
We got more to cook if this isn't enough.
Can you eat them fish all right, Tonsar?
Oh, number one.
You like them?
Number one.
All right, I'm glad you like them.
Okay.
Have fish eater, sir.
Okay, you
all
just
right.
eat fish.
How do you like it over here?
Very much, sir. He's going to stay.
Gonna stay?
I'm going to stay with you to help you to get fish. This is the last one, God. This is it. That's it.
I'll bet you it isn't.
I'll bet you.
I'll bet it isn't.
I'll bet you.
You know, when you was here before, you kept saying, well, I think this would be the last one. and then you'd reach and get another one. I remember.
Want to be a little modest.
That's right.
Tom Sawyer was staying in the white shirt and the necktie.
You said it. Well, that's what we did.
And that's what our people over in that country get so tired of. The American with the white shirt and the necktie.
Yeah.
Take that off of him, you've said it all.
Yeah.
Be careful, wait.
Okay, now.
How about this?
There you are. Hey. How about that?
Them's real fish on their
I saw the picture, you know, the first time, but I look at us.
See, this has been broke off already, see? You got there brittle. Of course, that is broke before. I put a piece of paper.
I don't have nothing to show you like you show me right now, but I show you some.
You will.
What I got from my country. Here.
What do you got?
That's his religion.
This is a very pure gold. It's, my
Yeah, that's worth more than any of us has got in their pockets.
Is that
I'll swear.
right? Is that right?
This is a statue of Buddha. What my region, what I worship, what I believe that your people believe Christian or Catholic. I hang around over here for making happiness, so get a nice trip.
Wow.
So.
Now, you lift this is pure gold. What the people does, you know, gold is much cheaper over there than it is
This is the
here.
golden ring.
The people that fast as they get money, they'll invest, put it in gold. So if they've got to run in across the other country, they've got their money with them, you see.
Oh.
It's in a little bundle.
Yeah.
And you can always sell gold anywhere in the world.
Nothing more than this to show you right now.
Fast as he or most people has any idea that they're, and he's in about as much hot water as I am over there. If I was to have to go, I'd have to find some way to get him out. So we've got to keep whatever he's got in little bundles like this so he can carry it with him.
Oh. Well, I'm glad you got to come over. I'm glad I met you anyhow.
After a complete trip around the world, they are back in Laos.
This hat I got from the Texas. That is one big state and famous state in America. Before I decided myself to get this hat, I saw in a movie so many times. There's like a cowboy hat. There's a very funny hat in the movie. Every people love to get in, want to have it. So myself, when I go to United States of America, I never forget what I want to get. That is cowboy hat I got from Texas in Houston. America people and our people over here are not too different, but it's quite different what the people work or doing or have something to live or have something to eat in America. But the heart, we got the same heart because we are fighting the enemies of the free world and freedom together.
Get Chan 20 blankets and 10 sleeping mats for Bansong. I believe we better let him go. Couldn't anybody?
Man,
let this man, this is one his wife died. Now I'll get you one more. You got, okay. Me Luke Chuck, couldn't you?
Pop has only a high school diploma, received almost 35 years ago. But he has learned enough of the Lao, Mao, and Thai languages to get along without an interpreter. This woman wants to trade vegetables for bread.
By God, I can't take her vegetables, though. She needs them worse than I do. There you are. She needs them vegetables. If I were to go to Washington today and they were to ask me what type of personnel we needed in this country, it would be like this. Number one would be to get me a man with a real sense of humor. Number two, I would tell them like this, that when they are recruiting personnel, to get a man with a college degree, but along with that, get a man that has a lot of experience in no matter what field it might be, even if he's working in the office in the capital or if he's working in the mountains with the villagers. But in picking that man, if he hasn't got both, I would say cut the college degree and send me the man who has got much experience. I feel in no way are you ever going to whip communism in this country or any other country with bullets alone. In fact, I feel that what we are doing up here as Americans has to come way, many months ahead of before you bring the bullets in.
To do this work, Buell feels that there is at least one man like him in every rural county of America, short on education, but long on experience. What he counts as experience is this: a memory of weeding onions at 5, the farm, the hardship of the Depression, winning through, the goodness of his wife, her death, the end of everything, and the beginning.